This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Danilo's free, and it goes to Gibbs White. Edge of the box, Foley. Yes! Great goal! What a hit from Oliveira! Gibbs White! They've only gone and done it again! Forest back in the lead! Rewarded Gibbs White! Oh, and he scores! And the City ground goes ballistic!
Hello and welcome to this episode of Red Side of the Trent during this international break, where we'll chat with a few different faces for this one. So no Lee or Adam on this one, but first of all, I'm joined by Christian the last 2 or 3 episodes because he's been gallivanting in the US. So nice to have you back, Christian. How was America?
It was really good, thank you. Yeah, glad to be back. Obviously, still couldn't stay away from Fry for too long. Managed to, obviously, because their subscription system it's so vast in America. So for the Chelsea game at like 9 in the morning, I signed up to Peacock for a month and was watching the game like out there. So which was quite cool. Was made for a very stressful couple of hours and like needed a good walk after to calm down. But yeah, it was it's been weird sort of listening from afar sort of thing. But yeah.
So was it the Fulham game as well? Wasn't it? You was you?
Yeah, I missed the Fulham game completely.
Yeah, so it was the Fulham and the Chelsea games then. So what did you kind of make of them 2 games? I guess as a whole.
I think if you said 1 point from those 2 games, I don't think many people would have said that's particularly unrealistic or would have complained too much. They assumed you got a point at home to Fulham and lost to Chelsea, but we've done it the other way around. I think the performance was more concerning for the Fulham game. It just felt like Nuno maybe thought too much into it and just got his selection wrong. But yeah, obviously we more than made up for that at Stamford Bridge with very, very good away performance. I mean, like you guys were saying on the pods, to get 5 points from Liverpool, Brighton and Chelsea is ridiculous. I mean, you think about it, in our first season in the Prem, we got 8 points. We've already got away from home. We've already got that away from home this season. So, like, we're definitely making a lot of strides in that area. So, yeah, it's just long may it continue. I just, like you guys touched upon, just need to try and sort that home form out, because if we can, I think that'll be the difference between us sort of being 14th and around that sort of area to looking to push on for top half. Because if you can match the away form at home, and then you are looking at a top half finish, you can consistently do that over a course of a season. So obviously you have to see how this next little block of games goes with Palace, Newcastle and West Ham, I think it is. Maybe not necessarily in that order for the last 2, but yeah, if we can claim a few wins there, then
Leicester away in there as well.
Yeah, definitely start to look hopefully forward rather than back.
So what have you kind of made of the season so far? So we're 7 games into it now, and we're sat in 10th position at the minute. So what have you made of it so far? Are you happy with how it's gone so far?
Yeah, incredibly. I mean, I think like League was saying, if you threw those points up in the air and looked at the games we had, I think to take 10 points would have been a pretty good return, given what we had to have to play against. Sorry. So yeah, very happy with how we've gone. I think the away form's definitely like massive reason to be cheerful. We look a lot more like a Premier League team. I know there were times in the first season, even last season as well, really, where we looked like, a Championship team in a cup, sort of playing a Premier League team. Whereas now we actually look like a well-oiled Premier League outfit at times. The new signings are settling in really well. They're all offering something, whether it's off the bench or from the starting 11. It feels like things are a lot more joined up and things are a bit more like moving in the right direction. So yeah, it's been a really positive start to the season so far. Like I said, my steps on it thoughts last week, I'm still very much, baby steps first, get over the line for survival and look ahead. But like I said, we only really need, let's say, 36 points to the base average to stay up in this division, which would be enough to keep you up, I think, 9 out of the last 11 or 12 off the top of my head. Like that's 26 points in 31 games. So and that would be like a real pretty big collapse from how we started. So we're in a very good position to really establish ourselves, and I think that's the most pleasing part, because that's what we all wanted.
Yes, what I'm going to do with each of you is obviously chat about the season so far, as we have just done. Then I'm going to give you kind of a story, what's been in the news for Forest over the last week or so, and then we'll chat about a player. So your story is all of a sudden this week, the FA announced that Forest would be fined £750,000 for that famous tweet after the Everton game. It's still up there. So yeah, so basically Forest's response was Nottingham Forest Football Club is extremely disappointed with the decision of the Regulatory Commission to impose a £750,000 fine in relation to comments posted on social media following out Premier League fixture against Everton on the 21st of April. We are particularly concerned that the FA in its submission sought a sanction in excess of £1 million, which obviously didn't happen. There's also a report saying that the highest kind of sanction would be talk of a stadium closure, which I find baffling because it's not the fans who put that tweet out. So to punish them, I'd find strange. And there was also chat of a points deduction. I've seen that Peter Walton was kind of venturing towards that avenue. Forrest went on to say that we believe that this request, along with subsequent fine, is wholly disproportionate, and the club will be appealing the decision. Thus far, Forrest refused to apologise, and the tweet is still up in all its glory. I think I've seen someone today saying it's now reached 48 million views. And there was also a piece from Atwell where he stated that the tweet had caused him stress, distress, fear, and embarrassment. So, what do you make of the fine? I'd say is the question.
Let's start with the fine. So the fine is absolutely ludicrous. Let's have that right. It's absolutely ludicrous. So I think for context of how stupid this fine is, the 6 biggest clubs in the league, if you like, threatened to leave the Premier League and basically send it into a nosedive, join an artificial league, and they got fined 3.5 million for that.
Which apparently still haven't paid.
Yes,
There's
haven't
a
paid
lot
it.
of rumours.
Manchester City tapped up youth players' agents and were fined about 370 grand for that. So you're saying this is nearly double as bad for sending a tweet and correctly highlighting that a Luton Town fan who had a clear vested interest in that game should have been nowhere near VAR for that. It's ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. It just shows once again that the FA will hold English football back. It has done consistently throughout the years. There's a big reason why England haven't won a major trophy in 60 odd years. And it's because of elderly, blazer wearing people who have no idea about football who sit in the FA. And you can say it's a deterrent because it's a bit like the protesters, like you said, Reese, who are getting 3 years for throwing orange paint at a statue
so
somewhere.
people don't do it basically.
Yeah, they're getting 3 years for that, whereas more serious crimes going under the radar. It's very similar to this, really. It's cause now teams will think, "Oh, I can't afford 750 grand." I just think it's just ludicrous. There's no basis for that. That will be, whatever sports lawyer we get to contest that, which will probably be Nick Lamarco, will be rubbing his hands with glee at that because he'll know he'll win it and he'll know he'll get a decent payout for it as well. It's just I don't know what they're expecting. The fact they wanted to push for $1 million is just insane. Absolutely insane. But yeah, I mean, and then obviously you look at Atwell's comments. I mean, grow up. Quite frankly, just grow up. He's saying how embarrassed he is, how embarrassed it all is. Well, we're all embarrassed watching you with multiple replays, get a decision clearly wrong that was unanimously approved in an independent panel afterwards. He should never ever have had that game. I think I saw someone say as well that since Howard Webb's come back into PGMOL, it's a shame Lee isn't here for this one actually because he may have been able to clarify this. I think there were procedures in place where, obviously if you did support a team and you were given a game that had a clear knock-on effect to that club, you wouldn't get it because let's be honest, you're going to be unconsciously thinking that way anyway, whether people want to admit it or not. So it just seems very silly. We've raised a very valid point of just being sent to a naughty step and given a massive fine for it. I just find it very, very confusing. But I'm sure we'll contest it and it will work out in the end. So imagine we failed PSR by 500 grand and it's because of this fine, for example. It'd be absolute disaster.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we'll see what kind of happens with that. Like Christian just said, Forest are planning on appealing it, so it'll be kicked down the road for a bit. So basically, your player, Christian, is someone who I think you was a bit sceptical of in the summer because of the media fee branded about, which was 35 million. As time's gone on and knowledge has become more powerful, we've kind of known that Elliot Anderson was signed for probably 15 million with all the PSR shenanigans and that in the background. Is he kind of changed your mind, or are you a bit more warmer to him? What have you made of his start to his Forest career?
He's been good, Anderson, to be fair. I think he's been very industrious. He's very, very good with the ball. Obviously, he still hasn't really got anything in terms of goals or assists, but his actual contribution to the team is very valuable. And yeah, I think, obviously, like you said, when you sort of see it as £35 million in isolation, I don't think we've necessarily got a £35 million performance out of him yet, per se. But obviously, we sold Academius for 20 million. So really, if you view it as a £50 million transfer, it's a bargain, because he's been very, very good. I think it's just, if you put him into that actual bracket where he actually cost, it's a little bit different. But no, he's been very, very good so far. I think whether it's out wide or whether it's in deep or midfield, he's like always put a shift in. Like, he's like very, very good with the ball. His distribution's very good. Like, I find he pops up in good areas. He's not afraid to get stuck in. Like, he's very much a very good midfielder, and I wouldn't be at all surprised. And obviously now he's switched allegiances, so he's got half line in the England squad maybe in the future. Obviously he'll need to be consistent, but from what we've seen so far, he has been. So yeah, he looks like a very good signing so far. I do wonder whether he'll play in a 10 role if Gibbs White can't play against Palace, because like you guys were saying, hopefully Nuno has sort of shelved that idea of what he had before, which didn't really work against Fulham. But I think that's where he would ideally like to play, just behind a striker. With if we had Dominguez and Yates behind him, for example, it's a lot of pressing and housery, shall we say, especially in Yates' case, which can maybe allow him to blossom a little bit. So yeah, he's been a very good signing so far. It's been nice to see. As we've all said before, we'd rather be wrong about a signing that we think isn't a good fit than right, like I was about Matt Turner. But yeah, we just move on. He's looking like right at home at Forest, and long may it continue.
I guess it's a shame there. You mentioned like he's not contributed with a goal or an assist yet. I guess it's a shame with the Fulham game he wasn't put into that 10 role to see if he could kind of
very silly.
do that. Yeah. We've drew a line through that game anyway. So yeah. A change of plans, so we are actually going to get Adam in because we've had a late pull out. So Adam's going to fill in. And just to say as well, as Adam reminded us, Anderson did get an assist against Wolves. So yeah, at least he's got that on the board. So
I remember that, to be fair, seeing as that was the only highlight of that game, really, apart from Bellegarde like taking out the top corner of Trent ends. But yeah.
Yeah. So basically same kind of questions to you then, Adam. So we'll start. What have you made of the season so far from your perspective?
I don't think you can argue with how we've started. I think people would have liked maybe get that one home win rather than an away win or whatever. But I guess with the last two seasons, how bad we have been away from home, it's kind of a nice change, isn't it? But like, I just hope that it's not playing on the manager or the players' mindset of getting that home win. But I think we've got this next bunch of fixtures. I think 3 of them are at home, and it's a good opportunity to start getting some points on the board and kind of start building that fortress. But I think, unfortunately, we've not had like anything to really shout about at home, if you know what I mean. Like, I know people have talked about the atmosphere not being as hyped up or anything. And I think Lee mentioned maybe it's teams aren't as bothered about coming. Maybe the novelties wore off a bit, but I think it goes both ways, don't it?
Yeah. It's probably the same for our fans as well. You know, this is the 3rd season now we're in the Premier League. You know, we've been out of it for 23 years. Of course, the atmosphere in the first season is going to be at probably maximum. You'll see that with Ipswich if they stay up, let's say, for a couple more seasons. You saw it last season with Luton, didn't you? Look at the media when there was like, it's all about the Kenny and all this. So, that hostility in that first season probably does ramp up a bit. But I guess it would be a concern if we didn't win any of these 3 home games we've got coming up in this next batch. I think we'd probably start to be a bit really concerned then about the home form. But we've got, I'd say, a good chance on obviously a week on Monday to put that home form to bed.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, so you're kind of in the news subject, Adam, is something what's inflamed Twitter over the last week or so, or last few days especially. So I believe it was yesterday, wasn't it? Forest released a video with Nuno showing all the new improvements of our new training ground. This is from the Forest website. So one of the biggest investments of the programme has been the installation of a brand new state-of-the-art 405-metre square gym, physio rooms and rehabilitation rooms, all enhancing player performance, strength, conditioning and recovery. Work has also been completed inside the players' changing room, which now includes a brand new sauna, ice bath, hot baths for optimal muscle recovery. The newly revamped dining area, which houses a new premium quality kitchen for the club's team of chefs and nutritionists, is also home to a live cooking station, expanded restaurant seating, and permanent coffee barista station. It's like reading a hotel description, isn't it? This?
Yeah, it is.
A new lounge area framed by floor to ceiling windows overlooking the training pitch and has been extended out at the rear of the building and can retain a relaxing lounge area, pool table, gaming stations and table tennis. New breakout areas within the training ground also allow for improved communication between players and staff to enhance the quality of contact time for one-to-one coaching and performance review sessions. Upstairs in the Nigel Doherty Academy, offices have been renovated and extended to include a new boardroom, a suite of impressive meeting spaces, and a video analysis room with direct balcony access for filming training sessions. This follows comprehensive work completed before the summer, including 2 new hybrid pitches, which boast the same quality surface as the famous City Ground. What do you make of that? And what do you make of like the talk on social media? Because end of the day, we as fans all want. You see Leicester's training ground, and you think like, as a club like us, we'd kind of want something like that, state of the art on a new piece of land. Obviously, that hasn't come to fruition so far. A stand, what we've obviously been trying for a while now, also hasn't come to fruition yet. It isn't down to a lack of trying, but what do you kind of make of it all?
I think with the training ground, are people really like? I get it. You want a state of the art. It makes it attractive for players and future prospects in the academy to come and go, wow, this is amazing. Like this is what you want as a professional. But also, I'm like, we're still getting results on the pitch. We could it's not like the be end all of everything in a sense. I know that sounds a bit weird, but I just kind of think people are getting their knickers in a twist over very little. Like as long as the players have got a bit of grass to play on, like, I don't know what's wrong with them. Do you know what I mean? Like I heard Ryan Yates say something like the pitches weren't always that good, and I'm thinking, well, I'm pretty sure they were, because the groundsmen are like some of the best in the country. I'm pretty sure the grounds were completely fine, to be honest. Like, yeah, I think the whole temporary thing is still an issue, but I don't think that will last for long anyway. I do think Marinakis has got big plans for Forest in a sense, and like you say, it's not from a lack of trying. The council had a huge kind of part to play. The boat club, obviously, with the stand, have had a big part to play. And I just think, like, I don't understand the squabbling online. I get the whole point of people trying to protect the ownership and people who are against the ownership in a sense, but I kind of just think it's not our money at the end of the day. It's his money. Like, I think you've got to kind of hand it to Marinakis, where that he has invested in this club, but he has tried to invest on the pitch rather than off the pitch to start us off with, which is fine. Like, you want to get into the Premier League, so he's got that access to more money to then improve everything else off the pitch. It's just going to take a lot of time, unfortunately. And people want things to happen immediately. It's like when we got into the Premier League, people are expecting us to come mid-table. First season in the Premier League, like, are you having a laugh? These things take time. It doesn't happen overnight, unfortunately. And I kind of just think people need to take a bit more of a chill pill with it all and just go and have a coffee or a beer and have a chill with your mates. Like, why are you bickering online about the bleeding training ground that you don't even have to go to? You don't have to go to work there. I don't get it.
To be fair, what I will say regarding the training ground is that I think it was made once we got promoted. I know Cooper of the Athletic reported this. Cooper demanded that the training ground was rebuilt because he said it wasn't fit for purpose. So, to be fair, like we all laugh at Man United's gym at Carrington being from the 1800s. So, obviously, you've got to have like Premier League facilities in place. I think, like you said, though, like it just seems like we've been playing catch up in many areas, and that's one of them. So, it does seem like we're taking a good step in the right direction.
To be fair, it's not just been this ownership. It's been, Nigel Doherty, God bless him, and Fawaz, there was never any infrastructure really. I know Nigel obviously put money into the academy, which has beared dividends for the club because of the players we've managed to bring through that academy and sell on. Brennan Johnson being the peak of it at the minute, but there was never any at the time from Nigel's ownership. There was no money pumped into the ground. Fawaz was the same. All he got us was a couple of screens. So it's been the trend 10 was about 90, 94, 95 because it was for Euro 96, wasn't it? So it's been, nearly 30 years now since we've kind of had any major renovation on the ground. The ground is the more important thing for me. I think the club's crying out for a new main stand. I know people who sit in the main stand are not nostalgic about it. I know Matt, who comes on this pod odd times, is, but the club really does need that new main stand. I think the ground would look so far better then. So yeah, that'd be more than the training ground for me. But I get people's frustrations because it was kind of promised when Marinakis and co come through the door, and we're obviously a long time down the line now. I guess they couldn't really count for COVID, as none of us could. But yeah, let's hope in due course things start to kind of take off really.
I do think in the next few years, because of the big sale of Johnson, and then we've now got a lot of sellable assets. And I mean, I don't want us to sell players left, right, and centre to start weakening the squad. But someone like a Murillo or an Alanga or whatever, who's in the news of getting sold for a crazy amount of money potentially next summer, they're the type of players that will not only improve the squad because you'll be able to replace them with the money, but you'll be able to reinvest that money into the state of art stuff. You look at what Palace did with the Aaron Wan-Bissaka money; they built an absolute unbelievable training ground. If you've seen it on the Channel 4 documentary, and they've producing players quite frequently now, which is but obviously South London is a massive hub of talent there, whereas Nottingham is probably Nottingham's not as big, maybe not got the talent, but we do produce players in our academy. It's evident we've done really, really well in that sense. So yeah, it will improve, but yeah, it's going to just take a lot of time, and unfortunately, people haven't always got the patience. But yeah.
Well, I mean, all the clamour what Derby used to say about their academy, they were never ever selling players at the level we was ever.
No.
Even what did Will Hugo go for?
8 million,
maybe.
8.
Yeah, and we sold Brennan Johnson for 45 million. Even in the Championship, we sold Brereton for 8 million. Apaya was at 8 million.
Oliver Burke for 13.
Yeah, Oliver Burke. So yeah, I guess what obviously the problem was for Forest is Leicester built it right on our kind of border, didn't they, to kind of entice people from Nottinghamshire. But the problem for us is, like I said, we was all these years behind because we've not been a Premier League club. The first priority for us when we got promoted was to invest in the team because we needed to stay up. Now we're in his third season in the Premier League and we're looking like a pretty established Premier League club. Now is probably the time where you start to think, right, we can start to put some money now into the infrastructure of the club, the training ground, as they have done with the improvements and building a new stand. So yeah, let's hope that does start to happen. And kind of a new ground is completely off the table, it seems now, doesn't it? So, ironically, the person you were filling in for, Adam, was very kind of not a fan, I'd say, of Ryan Yates last season. I've seen that Alex has turned more into the chairman of the Ryan Yates fan club this season. So, what I know, obviously, you're not his biggest fan, and there's nothing wrong with that because football's a game of opinions. But has he kind of changed your mind in any way this season of how he's got off to at the start he's got off to this season?
I think in terms of knowing what his role is within the team and his assets in the team, I think, yeah, because now I'm starting to see his strengths really, really come through in terms of how much of a nuisance he can be. And he I have to say, he has improved in the first 7 games. He's looked so much better in terms of his on the ball decisions. Like he's making it, he's doing much more simpler things. He's going forward a lot more. Being against Bournemouth, I didn't recognise him. He was running with the ball forward through the middle of the park. I didn't know what was happening. I nearly fell off my chair. So yeah, he's definitely swayed my mind in that sense, and I absolutely love what he's done against Chelsea and Liverpool. I mean, typing in his name in on Twitter and looking at everyone call him every name under the sun has been an absolute joy. It's absolutely hilarious because you're like, well, at least he's our player. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll protect him in that sense because I just think he's one of our own sort of thing. and he's led by example, because to say he's such a nuisance and such an annoying player, he's very disciplined. He doesn't ever look like he's ever going to get sent off, does he? He's very good at that, I find.
Yeah, that is something that I will agree with. His string to his bow is kind of when, I hate to use this example, but there was a few times when Sangare was on a yellow card and he'd kind of, Southampton away was one where you think, oh, he's going to get sent off or he gets hooked. Whereas at least with Yates, he does tend to, he's gone to that line, he's got booked for it, but then he toes the line, doesn't he? Very rarely kind of steps over it. And I think Tottenham away was probably the only one I can remember where you thought, oh, he's going to get sent off here.
Yeah, and I think what he still doesn't restrict him from his job either, which is to be that stopper in midfield and kind of break up play and then give it to a Forest shirt. So I've been really impressed, and I hope that continues, because he is someone that represents the fans in a sense, because he's been here for so long, and I think that's why people warm to him so much. I'm more of a football purist and want to see the flair and the entertainment from it, but he gives an entertainment in other ways, obviously, which has been brilliant. So I'm hoping this continues, and it's not just like in splits and splurts sort of thing. But I think under every single new manager he's had, he seems to get better. He's very good at kind of doing that, which is only a good thing for Forest, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Is he, in your view, at the minute? I know we've got injuries in midfield with obviously Danilo and Sangare out, and obviously James Ward-Prowse will miss the Palace game. Would he, let's say Sangare and Danilo are still injured, and obviously Ward-Prowse is back for Leicester away, which is a bad example, because let's say the West Ham home game, is he somebody you see as more a guaranteed starter across the board, or do you see him as somebody you'd probably more look towards getting him in for them away games where his best qualities are on show at the minute?
I think that's difficult. I personally think you pick and choose when Ryan Yates plays, personally. Okay. I think against certain teams where you want more control, then you want to play your more technical players that are still going to give you that grift and graft, or whatever you want to call it. Like Anderson is a very player who likes to get involved with a lot. I think for ground rules, he's in the top 20 players outside. Okay. So you're not going to lose that with an Anderson or even a Ward-Prowse. But I think Yates is definitely someone for the away games, like Billy Davies when he used to play just Blackstock up front, isn't he? He's kind of that kind of version where you have him in because you know what you're going to get from him in an away performance. So, and I think the squad's more equipped for it now, aren't they, really? Like we can pick and choose and kind of, depending on who we play against, we're thinking about it a little bit more. But I would like Nuno to think, I want the opposition to think about us a bit more in that sense and worry about us rather than we worry about them.
Especially at home,
But definitely he's definitely got his games to play and he will be integral for the season going on.
Right, so now we're going to be joined by some regular listeners to the pod and fans. So we've got Binit Patel with us. You all right, mate?
Yeah, great, mate. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, no problem at all. We see you regularly contributes to our Slept On It Thought, so we gave some people a message and see if people wanted to come on that. So what have you made of the season so far, mate?
Well, let me just first start by saying that thanks for doing these pods, because I think it's one of the best out there, and something I listen to every week. It's a good fun to listen to you guys. In terms of the start of the season, I don't think anyone can be really that disappointed, really, can they? I mean, we've got 10 points on the board, 10th place. If I had to grade it, I'd probably have to grade it as a sort of a B or a B plus. In terms of our away form's been pretty good, but our home form's been quite worrying. It's been pretty poor with only 2 points from 3 games. Now, if I look back at the start of the season, I would have put a couple of losses for the Chelsea game and the Liverpool game, but still ended up with around 11, 12, maybe even 13 points. So we may have been sort of under-delivered on terms of the points total, but overall, you can't be disappointed. I think it's a pretty solid start.
Yeah, it's in true Forest fashion and done it the way round. None of us thought we would do it by, as you say, winning at Liverpool and drawing at Chelsea, whereas we're losing to Fulham at home and then drawing against the side who are now bottom of the Premier League with 1 point. Yeah, I guess who that was against. But
out of So just sort of jumping out of the 3 games we've had at home so far, but which is the one
Yeah.
that you think's been the most disappointing that we haven't converted into a win?
I mean, everyone's talking about the Fulham game because of the maybe the tactical setup was wrong, but I think the first game against Wolves.
Second
Bournemouth
one.
first, weren't it?
I'll say
Yeah.
so. Yeah, so
First,
so Bournemouth, where they scored the late equaliser. I thought that was quite disappointing, and a bit sort of. I came out that ground feeling a little bit sort of upset that we may be repeating the same sort of mistakes as last season. The Wolves game, it was a worldie of a goal for their equaliser, but again, these are type of games we really should be putting to bed. And so when I looked back at what I was thinking pre-season, they were 2 wins in my kind of forecasting of the season. So that they were quite disappointing. The Fulham game disappointed me in a couple of respects. First of all, I think I spoke to Christian on text or something. I thought the 4-4-2 setup was different, was brave. It obviously didn't work, but I think I was more disappointed with the lack of atmosphere in the match. I thought it was pretty. I mean, I think the 3 games so far at home have been pretty poor in terms of atmosphere. I think something's not right there. I hope that does improve because I think the team does need a bit better atmosphere at home.
Do you think that's something like the players have kind of got to do with their performance, though? Like the Fulham game was even from a Fulham perspective, I thought it was just a poor game of football. And I think 99 times out of 100, it finishes 0-0, or but be it for VAR. Do you think kind of Nuno's set up at home and the players have got to kind of give the fans of something a bit more to shout about?
No, I definitely agree with that. I think as fans, you do need to see something on the pitch to get you riled up a bit. And we obviously didn't see that in the Fulham game. So I think players have a slight responsibility just to make sure, they put an early, tough tackle in or 2 and get the crowd riled up. So I think, there is a bit of an onus on the players to do that.
Just because we obviously have spoke about the home games in a bit of detail there, which, like we said, we're a little bit disappointed of. We've got to kind of flip it now to the games where we're over the moon with the away games. So what have you made of the on the road so far? Because it's
been fantastic. I mean, the win against Liverpool at Anfield was just mind blowing in a way. I didn't go to that, but I was listening to it and. Very, very, very nerve-wracking. I went to the Chelsea game with undercover with my Chelsea friend, and you can tell people around where I was sitting, obviously Chelsea fans, they were, compared to last year, talking very positively about Forest and how different we look in terms of how strong we look at the back, how secure we are, and I think none of the Chelsea fans I was with thought it would be an easy game. And that proved correct.
Something when we put out on our page in the week, I think it was Adam who put it out, was obviously Chris Wood started the season very well again. He carried on from last season under Nuno. I believe he's out of contract at the end of this season. So is that something you would like to see the club make kind of a priority, really, to get Wood tied up? And what kind of, if so, what kind of length of deal would you be looking to give to him?
I mean, I think you're probably looking at sort of a 1-year extension. But it really depends on what we do in the windows, particularly in January, in terms of getting in a new striker in. I think that a problem here is that January is not a great window to get strikers in, or any good players. So we may have to rely on Woods for a bit longer. And my only other concern is that I know Christian's a big fan of Taiwo, as I am, but I just feel a little bit more sceptical whether we'll see the best of him again. And that does worry me for the season ahead. And people start talking about a top 10 finish. I just can't see that right now unless we really do back up our striking force in the window. But again, January is not an easy window to get top class strikers in.
Yeah, there was a couple, I'm not sure if you've seen, but there was a couple of pictures posted online with him away on international duty, Taiwo. And one of his legs, especially his calf, looks a lot smaller than the other leg, which looked a bit of a concern for me. That we've spoke about this on the pod, as I'm sure you've listened, where of these injuries, what he's had just kind of taken a toll on him, and that's why he's looking so kind of sluggish, really. But I guess
that's concerning, because all we need now is, well, we don't need this, is Wood to have an injury, because then I think we're stuck. Now people talk about Jota Silva filling in that role, but we haven't seen much evidence of any of that happening. So we are a bit vulnerable up top. If Wood gets an injury, then I don't know what we're going to do. It's going to be quite difficult. I mean, fortunately, we're very, very secure on the defensive side. And if you look at the stats, we're scoring one goal per game, and we're letting in around 1 goal per game. So it's going to be a tight balance in the next few months. So we just got to hope that Woods stays fit.
Yeah. I think he probably would chuck Tyler in person and see how he got on if that was to happen, but let's hope Wood stays fit. I've given Christian a player. Christian had Elliot Anderson. Adam's had Ryan Yates. So yours is going to be Matt Sells, Bennett. So he's obviously came in last season when we had a disaster with Turner and Vlachodimos. Pretty calm, steadied the ship. This season we brought in Carlos Miguel in the summer, but he stayed as number 2 and Sells has stayed as number 1. And there has kind of been a bit of talk like, can we sign someone who's better than him going forward? And then obviously he pulled out his best game of his Forest career, I'd say, against Chelsea, where he was absolutely sensational. So these are just a couple of stats from this from a Premier League article I saw yesterday. So his save success rate last season was just over 57%. This season it's now 76%. I know it is still early days. And goals prevented last season, he was nearly 8 goals down. This season he's just over 3 goals up. So do you think? Are you happy with Sells? Are you happy?
I mean, I think that data shows you that he's a very solid, probably mid-table goalkeeper, and just cards on the table. Before the season, when the summer window was open, I was hoping for a centre forward and a new goalkeeper.
Okay.
Now, there's two things we have to think about. First of all, do we think are we aiming to be a top 10 side? And if we're aiming to be a top 10 side, I don't think Sells is that goalkeeper. However, he is a very solid mid-table, 12th to 15th type goalkeeper. So, and then the other question is, can we do better? I mean, it's easy to say, we need a better goalkeeper, but where are these goalkeepers, and would they come to Forest immediately? So I think I'm happy with Sells for now. I don't think he's probably consistent with a top 10 finish, but I may be wrong with that. He's done brilliantly so far.
Yeah, I think he's definitely someone who, like you say, if we finish, I don't know, last season we finished 17th. This season we finished anywhere from 10th to 14th. I think having Sells in goal for the season probably would get you in them spots. So we'll kind of have to see on that one. But thank you for coming on, mate. We really appreciate it. All right.
Cheers,
mate. Right then. So our next listener and who's been invited onto the pod is Carl Booth. Carl, you okay, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. Thank you for inviting me on.
No problem at all. So just basically, as we did with Bennett, what have you made of the season so far for Forest?
Overall, I'd say it's as good as I think any of us could have really hoped for. It's been a bit of a tale of two halves in terms of away. We've been fantastic. At home, definitely room for improvement. But I don't think really as a fan base we've really got too much to grumble about.
Yeah, anything to add, Christian?
No, I suppose out of what we've seen so far, have you seen what's really sort of like pleased you? Is it the performance levels? Is it the new signings bedding in, for example? Is it Chris Wood getting 4 goals in 7 games, for example, and looking like he's going to win the Golden Boot or whatever it is? But yeah, well, there's a certain Norwegian preventing him from doing that, to be fair. But
I would say everything this season seems a lot more settled. There doesn't seem that chaos around us like there was the last 2 seasons. The recruitment, obviously, Milenkovic for one, absolutely fantastic. You can't really ask for more than that in a signing for a centre back. It definitely looks like a Nuno team now. Whereas last season, I think he was literally just when you handed a team you've not got pre-season, you do the best with what you've got. It was a bit of a firefight. But this season, it's definitely in the mould of what you would imagine a Nuno team to be. And I think going forward, it's looking forward like we're going to have a really good, solid season. Maybe not as exciting as just missing the drop or anything like that. But I do think this season we can all take a breath and just enjoy the fact that we're not going to be one of those scrapping at the bottom for once.
We have had 3 seasons, haven't we, in the drop now, either relegation battle or obviously the promotion season. Also,
I can't actually remember the last time we had a boring season. Like we've always either had like playoff chase, relegation scrap. We've pated out into mid-table sometimes, but we've always had something on the line for most of the season. I'm very, very happy if we're just like last on match today every single week, but we finished like 12th. I don't think anyone will complain about that.
You've got to accept the fact that we are what we are and we are where we are. I don't think these people who say, oh, it's top 10, we're shooting for Europa Conference League, make sure your Thursday nights are free. That's, you're dreaming. just be happy with progress, be happy with being out of danger, and just build year on year. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a while. And if ever you think to yourself, oh, this is not where we should be, just think where we were when Fowles was here. And then just be thankful that we are where we are with Marinakis. It's
chalk and cheese.
Just be happy.
Yeah, I think
maybe cancel. Sorry, Reece. Maybe cancel the hotel for Lincoln Red Imps then.
I think it was probably the first season under Marinakis, wasn't it, when Warburton had that season where it was kind of in no man's land, was we? And then every other season after, I know we had the season during COVID, but in the then was in a relegation battle, weren't we, for much of that season? But we're going to talk about the defence, Carl. So again, these are, I'm not sure if you guys saw this Premier League article yesterday. It was, I can't remember his name, Adrian somebody, who'd done, I think it was Adrian, somebody who'd done this Premier League article anyway. So these are like extracts from this. So he was talking obviously about Forest's defensive unit, of how settled it is. He said, which is a far cry from last season when 13 different defenders and 3 keepers all made at least 5 top flight starts for us. That's something we mentioned on the pod last time about Murillo not having a settled partner. And obviously, I mean, the keeper situation. Yeah. After 7 rounds of matches, Forest have conceded just 1 set piece goal, which we all know which one that one is. And their expected goals against from them is 1.01, which is the second lowest figure in the division. Only 3 defenders have won more aerial duels per 90 minutes than Milenkovic. Tellingly, both him and central defensive partner Murillo rank inside the Premier League's top 5 for aerial duel success too, with each of them winning at least 3/4 of their battles, which is not bad for someone who's apparently not good in the air for some people, Murillo. We'll talk about Milenkovic first of all, Carl. What have you made of him since he's come in? He looks like the signing of the summer, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, absolute mustard. Just, I mean, he's got to be the signing of the summer for us by a long shot. That you don't sit there or stand there now in the City ground with your peeking through your fingers every time a cross comes into that box.
Yeah,
you just look at Milenkovic and go head on that, and you just feel this joy of knowing it's going to take one hell of a pinpoint ball into that box to cause us issues. We just look so much more solid, so much more settled. I think that's helped Sells having a defence in front of him that he trusts, and he knows that there isn't, he's not going to be picking the ball out of the back of his net 9 times out of 10 for every cross that comes in. I just think it's the main area that Nuno obviously and the whole club just identified as this is where the issue is, because we aren't gonna outscore teams. We can't let in 3 because we ain't gonna score 4.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that the door's shut at the back to give those forward players the opportunity to win a game. And I just think that now we have that settled back for, obviously the stats speak for themselves. That is going to be the difference between us being 17th and maybe 11th, 12th, maybe even 10th. Just that solidity at the back.
I think
So
it's
we know what we've got up front.
I think it's a very fair point you make with the Sells thing as well, because from a goalkeeping perspective, and this is somebody who's never played in goal, but it must be like not ideal as a keeper that your right centre back every week is pretty much changing. Like, I know he had Murillo as his left centre back, but we saw at Brighton away last season when he came out and Omobadadeli and him collided, didn't they? And it went in. So that continuity at the back is something which is massive for us, and even the wing backs now, obviously with Iron and Moreno as well. Something that did make me laugh this morning was there's a couple of reports saying that Newcastle had interested in Milenkovic, and which is funny for a club that take Mark Guehi or someone didn't get him when they could have signed Milenkovic for 12 million. But then it said that Forest valued him at least 50 million euros. What would you kind of value him at if that is something you can answer? I mean, I'd find it tough because you just want to see more and more of him at the minute because he's solved so many of our issues, hasn't he, at the back?
Yeah. I mean, everybody talks about, end of this season, keeping older Murillo, keeping older Gibbs White. Is a Newcastle going to come back in for Elanga? But we might be having to fend off bids for Milenkovic. And he might be the one where teams are going, you know what? Like, I know Man U were linked with him a couple of years ago.
Okay.
He decided not to take a punt on him, and they're an absolute basket case.
Yeah.
I mean, look at their defence.
Again, their defence for sure.
Yeah. They right now they kill for a Milenkovic. So their loss is going to be our gain. But then is a bigger team going to go? We'll test their resolve and see what they're willing to take. And we could end up. I mean, I can't see us accepting bids for 2 centre halves in one window, but money talks. You never know.
Yeah, it is great. It's crazy. We're 7 games into the season. We're talking about quadrupling his money already on a player, which is absolutely mental. But it shows you, the impact
It shows you his worth. It shows you that our recruitment isn't that chaotic that that everybody's sort of painted us as this. Oh, we'll just sign anyone, chuck it at the wall, see if it sticks club, and we aren't that now. That seems to have died away now. People, I think, are taking our recruitment seriously for once.
As fans, it's something we've been crying out for, hasn't it? I mean, the recruitment's been really good this summer. There hasn't been any last day signings, or we're just going to sign like we did last summer, where we signed Origi, whatever, early 30s, 120 grand a week, offered pretty much nothing. We kind of gone away from that, which is nice to see. And we're actually building a squad where you've got several players in that squad who you brought for, like the likes of Murillo and Milenkovic, for 10, 12 million pounds. And you're thinking, well, we're going to make 40 million on them if we was to sell them, which obviously then you can reinvest in your playing squad, reinvest that in the infrastructure, like pretty much Brighton have done. And, look at the success they've had for what I'd say is a pretty modestly sized club. We'll touch on the other centre-back, partner to Milenkovic in Murillo. Nathan, a friend of the pod, the South American football expert, I think he was very surprised to not see Murillo be called up for Brazil. There was also a dropout and he still didn't get called up. So do you think that's something that is going to happen, or do you think that is might be a little worry for Murillo that he thinks he has to move on to, say, I don't know, a top 6 club to get called up by Brazil?
I would hope that the fact that he's playing for us isn't the thing that's holding him back, or the thing that's stopping them from wanting to call him up. I mean, if the Brazil manager isn't looking at the stats of him and Milenkovic and seeing his worth and how good he is for us and how good he is in what is deemed the best league in the world, then what really more can he do? I mean, he is ball playing centre half is the best centre half I've ever seen with the ball at his feet for Forest. That I don't remember one. I mean, I'm 38 years old. I remember very distantly Des Walker, very good on the ball, very astute, very fast. But I don't ever remember one with the ability that Murillo's got, and the positional awareness that Murillo's got, and the strength that Murillo's got. I mean, he can turn strikers inside out, and that's not something that we really see at Forest. It's usually a Matt Mills headed kick it, Ian Breckin head through a brick wall, Wes Morgan just lamp it 60 yards down the pitch when they're in danger. That's the kind of centre halves we've had. So to have someone who's an absolute Rolls Royce as he is, he'll get the call up eventually. He's still only, was he 21? Has he played 100 senior games yet? I can't imagine it being anywhere near that yet.
No, I think so. No.
There you go. I mean, time is on his side. It's not like it's a race against time for him. I think the fact that he seems extremely happy at Forest for the moment. Obviously, his sights are set beyond where we are right now, and that's understandable. We're not going to have Murillo long term. We know that. But I mean, I can't see it getting to the end of the season without him getting a call up at least once.
Yeah, Nathan did say that the manager, because I think they're under a bit of pressure at the minute, Brazil, that he did go with someone tried and tested. So I guess if he'd stuck his neck above the parapet and called Murillo up with him being a young lad and he'd made a mistake, then he'd probably get kicked up the backside for it. So
so it might be the manager's looking at it as self-preservation. I know this player, I've worked with them before. If I take a punt on this young lad, like you say, something happens, am I going to have egg on my face? When really I should have gone with what I know. But I can't see it being long before he gets the call up.
Yeah, the only defender who comes to my mind who could spray a ball like Murillo was Dawson in his first spell. I think he used to ping it from right to left. But with Dawson, he never really had that turn of pace like Murillo.
No.
So, I don't. You're definitely not far off the mark there, mate, with that. But, that's it, Carl. Thank you for coming on, mate, and we really appreciate it. All right.
No problem. Thank you for the invite.
No problem.
Cheers, guys.
Right, last up, but no means least, is Edward, who goes a lot under the account on Twitter over Capability and Function. Thanks for joining us, Edward. So, as I have done with Binet and Carl, just your thoughts on the season so far. Forrest, what have you made of it?
Yeah, it's been excellent. We can regret a couple of the results. Probably the Wolves result is the one, and probably the Fulham result. I think we could have 3 more points on the board from those. But apart from that, I think, it's been really encouraging. It's been really solid. The continuation of the solid away form has been magnificent, considering we were just complete basket case for pretty much the whole of the first 2 seasons. So it's that's been, we just have to get the home form going. We had the low block under Cooper, and we attacked in fits and starts, and then Nuno is a better version of that. We still don't control games or be on the front foot for a tremendous amount of time, and we have to our striker, thankfully, is being supremely efficient, Chris Wood, so far. So it's I'm delighted for that point of view, but I think we can go a couple of ways now, because the next block of games coming up are really important, and they're the type of games we haven't been winning over the first 2 seasons. We should be looking. We could from West Ham, Leicester, Crystal Palace. I can't see how we shouldn't try get 9 points out of those if we play as we've shown we can play in the first 3 games. But we probably won't. That's the problem. You see, if we want to move on and get that bit of solidity and say, yes, this is going to be a season of, as Christian said, boring last game and match of the day survival, this is the kind of run we need to go on between now and the next international break.
No, I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I think that it's quite weird, isn't it, to think that Forest could, in theory, win 3 Premier League games in a row, whatever it is. But I don't think we've done that since we've been up.
Could be 4.
Could be 4. Yeah, could be 4. No, I think is it 2 the most we've done since we've been promoted? I think. Is it Leicester and Leeds? I want to say on the Cooper.
That's a good question. I
don't
think it might be.
I don't
I
think
don't
we've
think
done
we've
it
done
yet.
it. No, I don't think we won three. Have we won? I don't think we won three in a row, have we? I don't
No.
think so. We obviously
No.
won Newcastle and Man U, didn't we, under Nuno as well?
Yes,
We did,
that's
yeah.
true. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this next batch of fixtures, you look at it on paper, and avid listener Elliot will probably be fist will be shaking here. But you look at them on
Don't say
paper
it.
and
Don't
think,
say it. Don't
I'm not
say
going
it.
to say it. But like you think, free home, we're going to find out. I think the home form issue in these next batch of games because we've got three. Especially the next game with respect, Palace are below us at the minute and struggling.
Yeah.
So we've got to kind of be looking at that. As a game we should be going out and trying to win, as obviously you do with all games, but with the odds stacked in our favour, I'll add that to it. And then obviously you've got Leicester away, which is going to be interesting. Yeah. And then West Ham are topsy-turvy, and Newcastle, although I think have started pretty well, always seem to be in a competitive game against Newcastle. So that would be an interesting one.
Yeah. Now, the Palace one is interesting because, we were all kind of looking at the grass being greener on the other side when Glasner went to Crystal Palace and had that finish to the season, and we got Nuno. We're going, did we make the wrong call there? But that's switched around now entirely this season. So Palace are still to find their form, and they've just lost that momentum they had at the end of last season. And luckily for us, Leicester got their first win, so that kind of weight is off the shoulders. So that won't be kind of that added edge to that game will be slightly gone. They still won't be looking for the first win. Again, as you say, West Ham, they have quality, but they've taken time to get used to what Lopetegui wants from them. They've given us James Ward-Prowse, thank you very much. But it's like that will be the hardest one to call probably. Newcastle, you say, we're always competitive against them. It's they just edge us out. But obviously last season's home game was a travesty of refereeing, as we know, one of the many. But it's just, I think we're going to be competitive in each game, but each game obviously will present different challenges. But in reality, Monday night under the lights, I'd like to think we can beat Crystal Palace. If we don't, and it ends up being kind of that frustrating 1-1 or something like that, then some of the gloss will be taken off slightly from the start of the season, because at the end of the day, we're only 2 points further on than when we were this time last season. But it seems as if we're feeling a hell of a lot better about this 10 points than we did about the 8 points last season. And it's like the second block of 5 points is psychologically more pleasing than the first block of 5 points, just given the opponents and the results we've had. Obviously, Liverpool and Chelsea standing out. So, there's a lot of that kind of mental shift, that momentum, that confidence that has to be bred and maintained. And we're lucky, it seems, that the group, this current squad, the first team squad, seem to have a good blend. They seem to be enjoying themselves. There seems to be a good camaraderie between the guys. So that's always helpful. There's no solo runners, there's no divas. Everybody seems to be getting on from what we see, from what's released from the club, etc., what we see online. So that's all good. That's all pointing in the right direction. As previous speakers have said, we have that stability that we haven't had the first 2 seasons. We had an excellent summer transfer window. Obviously, I would have liked a striker in. I think we do. I think we're thin up top, and we're really praying that Chris Wood stays as fit and able as he is, and that he survives these long journeys to and from New Zealand, wherever they're playing. Our striker has to go halfway around the world twice in each international break, and there's one more coming up. So, I'm always saying a prayer that he'll come back in one piece. But even the strikers we didn't get, obviously Jimenez injured and Ketia yet to get off the mark, but Marmoush, wow, he's tearing up the Bundesliga. So Sirianos is kind of German connections. He just seems to have this way. The force is strong with Sirianos in Germany. I don't know how he does it, but he seems to pick out these guys. And unfortunately, didn't come to us. But maybe is another one lined up. Hopefully, we'll see. But I think we may have to loan somebody in January. I know there's talk of Richarlison in the last week or two, last few days online, whether that's just gossip or not.
Jesus, sign me up for that at once. Charlison on loan for half a season. Good lord.
And but I think somebody like Evan Ferguson, who's not getting a game at Brighton, if he doesn't fit in with Hertzler's plans, I would say he's young enough to give a start, because he's that kind of focal point centre forward that we like and that our system needs. So again, just something to think about. But overall, things are good. Considering I've been a Forest fan this is my 45th season following Nottingham Forest. So I've seen I've seen the highest highs. Thankfully, I'm old enough to remember the highest highs. But I've seen the lowest lows, and this is just wonderful. This is just great. I love this. There's always we're just improving, and it's a joy to be a Forest fan at the moment.
Yeah,
it really is.
Speaking of Chris Ford, I'm just looking at who New Zealand are playing. He scored for them the other day against Tahiti in a 3-0 win, and then tomorrow morning they're playing Malaysia. So, so yeah, some big nations is playing there. But yeah, I'm excited for these next batch of fixtures. I think we're kind of craving to see what's going to happen because, you'll say this because England got beat the other night, but and I did say this before the international break, is they're kind of coming at bad times at the minute. We're 7 games into the season. We're going to be 11 games into the season next time, and we've had 3 international breaks, 4 with respect, glorified friendlies. So,
well, they're glorified friendlies for England because you don't need the Nations League crazy qualification route to get to tournament.
True.
We do.
True.
These are incredibly important matches for Ireland. So you're speaking from a position of privilege. I'd love to be up there and dismissing these as glorified friendlies, but we can't.
Well, if as previous manager hadn't got us relegated, we'd be playing against nations who we kind of wanting to look to beat in tournaments to see how we're getting on. But instead, we're with no disrespect to Greece, losing to bloody Greece. But we'll move on from England because I'll get frustrated.
What I will say about Monday night though, like surely Sky must be thinking, what have we done? Like you've got a team that hasn't won at home and a team that hasn't won all season on a Monday night on a prime time fixture.
0-0 then.
Yeah, they've really not picked that one well.
No, I've got to.
Yeah, and you just have you'll have Jamie Carragher just making his usual snide remarks about Ryan Yates falling over all the time, which he has Don Goodman consistency on that. I can tell you, it's just crazy.
So we spoke about Chris Wood new contract. Another player who is out of contract at the end of the season is Ola Aina. There was a report I seen in midweek that Roma were sniffing about him, which is, if that was true, Roma could actually come in January and sign him on a pre-contract, I believe, for next summer. So, what's your thoughts on Ola Aina? And if you do like him, which I'm sure you do, do you think that's something Forest have got to get sorted pretty quickly?
Oh, absolutely. To get a guy like him on a free, I know he's with Fulham. He had an interesting period with them. Then he went off the radar. Went to Torino, and he seemed to be from what I read, he seemed to be very well liked there and performed quite well. But, always when you get a guy on a free, he's either has terrible injury problems, terrible attitude problems, or his form just hasn't been good. But Ola Aina seems to have just blasted all that out of the water. His stamina comes into question sometimes, and he's been taken off early in some games, but he's been completing games recently. His nadir, his worst performance obviously was the 5-0 of Fulham, which I think nobody came out with any credit from at all. But apart from that, he's been pretty consistent. He's got pace. We've always remembered the Kyle Walker stuff, and I think we should lock him down for 2 to 3 years because, for the fact that we spent nothing on him, he's only costing us his wages. Give him a nice bump, give him a good contract, and just keep him running up and down that touchline because he is as solid as a rock. And, the club should be their priority now, even in this international break, just, dotting the I's and crossing the T's with his agent because we have to keep him on board because you don't get bargains like him very often.
Yeah, and then just last but not least, mate, obviously Morgan Gibbs-White went off in the game against Chelsea with an ankle injury, obviously pulled out of England duty, which from our perspective was a shame. And obviously we get it. We want him to play for Forest as well. So he had to stay with us. There was a report, I think it was from The Athletic, wanted Christian, where they basically said Forest are hopeful that he'll be back for Palace. Would you kind of be wanting him back as soon as possible? Would you be kind of, happy maybe that he missed Palace and Leicester with the close proximity, maybe back for them 2 home games, or do you just want him back as soon as possible, Gibbs-White?
Yeah, it's a hard one. You do want him back because as early as he possibly can, as long as he's fit and ready. If that means meeting Crystal Palace, so be it. If he could be back for Palace, brilliant. If it means he has to go to Leicester on a Friday, okay, fair enough. The problem is, with Gibbs-White, he is the most skillful player I've seen since Andy Reid. So no, we don't get players like that too often. Really do not have players like that too often at Forest. So, we have to treasure him, we have to mind him. If that means a game or two extra, so be it, because he needs to last us the whole season, because he is that difference maker. Like, okay, he doesn't chip in with as many goals as say a Cole Palmer or a Phil Foden or something like that, that he's trying to get into that bracket and be talked about in that bracket and be in that space in the England team. But, he does. And I don't think as well, like when we played Chelsea, we had a plan for Cole Palmer and we shut Cole Palmer down as much as you can possibly shut Cole Palmer down. I may be wrong and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember too many teams having a plan for Morgan Gibbs-White, if you know what I mean. Because he can be brilliant at times, but he can drift in and out of games. But we do need him there because he sees a pass nobody else sees. And he makes that run. He can beat a couple of guys. He can keep the opposition on their toes, but he is just that bracket below his England colleagues, but he's getting there. And I think if he could just add a couple of more goals, improve his shooting, he'd be up there. He has amazing ability and skill, I said, the likes of which I haven't seen for about 20 years in a Forest shirt. And I just think if he can just apply himself throughout the games a bit more, and, with our style as well, he wasn't helped since the first season and most of the second season, because we played such a low block. He had to come back and get balls that he didn't need to. He doesn't have the luxury of staying up on that number 10 position and kind of not having to move around the pitch. So the further forward we can keep him, and I think maybe with Nuno, maybe he's trying to get a system and to allow that to happen, that he can get him there feeding the wingers, feeding Wood or Awani as the case may be, and just keep him further forward. Then we'll see, I think, a more consistent performance out of him. And he won't have to go kind of scrabbling back for the ball or trying to build things from midfield because nothing's coming to him. So, yeah, I love him. I think he has brilliant qualities, but he has also, a couple of things he needs to work on. But I love him, and I do want him to see him fit and firing in the team every time.
Lovely. Right, I think that wraps it up with that. Thank you for coming on, Edward. Really appreciate it, mate. All right.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me on, and
No
good
problem
luck.
at all.
Keep following you every week, and hopefully we'll do this again. Thank you.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, we'll definitely do it again. Right, and to round off, should I say, this pod is the October birthday spread, which we've done now for quite a few months. There was absolutely loads of players for this month, so yeah, I had to whittle it down to 10. I believe you're the reigning champion, Adam. I think you defeated Lee, didn't you, last time out? So
Easy work.
So yeah, for those who've not listened to the birthday spread before, basically it's 10 Forest players whose birthday it is in the month of October. This is the age that they'll be this year. Christian and Adam will take it in turns to guess, and then a margin of error will build. Whoever's got the least at the end will be the winner. So I'm just going to read out some players who didn't make the cut. So these are all players who didn't make the 10. So George Boyd, Carl Darlow, Brynjar Gunnarsson, Brett Ormerod, Matt Lockwood, Danny Panios, Brian Rice, Hans Sagers, Matt Thornhill, Hans van Brooklyn, Scott Doby, Stern John, Jack Lester, Lewis McGugan, Paul McKenna, Neil Shipley, and Tyler Walker. So yeah, happy birthday to all of them. And and they didn't make the cut. So because you're the reigning champion, Adam, do you want to go first or second?
I will go first.
You'll go first, right? So we'll start it off then with number one. Someone who had a couple of spells at the club, Jack Colback.
Oh, what a boy! I will go for 35 this year.
35, Christian.
I'm gonna go 34.
34. He's bang on 35. Well
Oh,
done, Adam.
go on! The Ginger Perlo, what a prince!
Still at QPR, isn't he?
He
Yep.
is, yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
He was fans' favourite, wasn't he? Number two is a BBC Radio Nottingham legend, Steve Hodge. Steve Hodge. So to you, Christian.
I'm gonna go maybe like 61.
I think 61. Adam.
I would say 63.
He's 62.
Oh wow!
So you both won out. So Christian, you're on to 2. Adam, you're on to 1. So
What a tight game.
Nice start. So we're gonna go down the ranks in terms of players now. So number 3 is Nikolai Dimitru.
Oh, throwback. I don't even remember him playing. That's how bad
He
he
scored
was.
away at Newcastle, I believe.
He did score away
I
at
know,
Newcastle. It was a
okay.
3-1 loss,
So
wasn't it?
he now
Who knows?
plays in Indonesia, according to
Jesus.
Wikipedia. And since leaving us in 2017, he's had 10 clubs since.
It was. I think that was the day Armin Hodzic made his debut for us as well at Newcastle game.
Quite
Okay.
possibly. I'm gonna say he's 33 this year.
33. Christian?
I'm gonna go 31. I think he's about 24 with us, give or take. So.
He's 33. Spot on, Adam.
Oh, God's sake.
So 2 direct hits so far. So it's Christian 4, Adam 1. So it's still very close. So number 4, this one might catch you out, Adam, but this is one of the famous 3 Italians, Salvatore Matricano.
Oh God. Yeah, that's
So,
gonna be a tough one.
so
50.
it's Christian. No, it's Christian's go
Christian
first. And,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, go Christian.
I'm gonna go bang on 60.
bang on 60. Adam,
I was gonna say 57.
he's 54.
Oh.
So that means you were 6 out, Christian. You're on to 10, and Adam, you were 3 out, so you're on to 4. So 10, 4, 4. Number 5 is someone who played for us when we got promoted back to the Championship. Then all of a sudden got forgotten about. Joe Heath. Heath. So number 5, Adam.
Don't even remember him, to be honest. 43.
43. Christian.
Hey, I don't remember him. Is he promoted back to the Championship?
Gave you a little clue there.
So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go about 40.
He's 36.
Wow.
So that puts you on to 14, Christian, and you're on to 11, Adam. So I was looking up his Wikipedia, and apparently he was playing for Vauxhall Motors most recently, and now apparently he's gone to Australia. So
he must
yeah, I
be
think he played. I think he played a few games when Julian Bennett got injured in the first season back up, and then he all of a sudden kind of just disappeared. Really,
was he an academy boy? He must have been. I'm guessing.
Yeah, he was academy. Yeah, but obviously Billy Davies didn't really like academy players. I remember he used to slag off that. Yeah, but I mean, the ones who was on the fringes, like Emile Sinclair at the time. I think he used to kind of. Yeah.
Do you remember who was it that came on? Because we had Del Boy and Rodney at one point, didn't we? Had a bowler and
we had Adam Niall Rodney.
Niall Rodney,
that was it. Yeah,
because we had Adam Newbold, Mark Byrne.
When was Felix Bastians a player for us? Was that League One or Championship?
He ended up going
to play Bundesliga.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, yeah, he didn't really do much for us. But right, so halfway stage, then it's 14-11. So birthday number 6 is John McGovern.
Christian's first, isn't he?
Yeah, it's Christian's first on this one.
Oh, God. I'll go 72.
72. Adam?
I was going to say 70. I was going to say that, but I'll go different, obviously. 73. I'll go.
73. He's 75.
Oh.
So that means you're 3 out, Christian. So you're on to 17. Adam, 2 out. You're on to 13. So 17, 13 with 4 to play. Birthday number 7 is one of my favourite loan players who actually was very injury prone for us, unfortunately. Jordi Osei-Tutu, who's now at Bolton.
It was his birthday the other. That picture the other day was hilarious.
That was very funny. Yeah.
He can't be very old because I think is he at Rotherham now, or he was at
Bolton.
That Bolton. Oh, fantastic for the boy. 26.
26. Christian.
I'm gonna go 25.
25. He's 26.
Oh,
so another direct hit for Adam. So that makes it 18-13, 3 to play. So still very tight. With 3 left. So birthday number 8 is a man who is now into gardening, Henry Lansbury. So it's you, Christian, this one.
I'll pass. Like 30, 36, I'm going to go for. I think he retired fairly young, all things considered. So yeah,
Adam?
go 36.
I'm saying 34.
He's 34.
Say,
I think
Adam,
you've
stop googling it.
been reading Adam's been reading the Forest paper this week.
Christian, don't worry. There's no shame in losing to me.
So it's 2013. I did like Lansbury a lot. So we're
Yeah,
not going to
he's
go
Very
down
good player
that
for us.
debate.
Lansbury. Very, very good player for us.
Number 9 is a League One signing under Gary Megson, who got sent off, I believe, on his debut or second game. Rune Pedersen.
I was there.
Pedersen.
I
Yeah,
was there,
Warsaw
Walsall away. Yeah.
Oh,
George
Christian, I think
Mateo jumped over him. The ref bought it. Matty Fryatt scored the penalty and celebrated right in front of us. I've never seen so much debris rain down on a pitch to have that dealt with. Honestly,
I was
Fan
meant to go.
bottles, coins, the lot. Like it was awful.
I was meant to go to that game and had a paddy when I was. I would have been about 13, then 13, 14. So my dad went without me.
Christian, you might get some, you might crawl some back here because
I've never done the Bescott Stadium since.
You're not missing much, mate.
I go by it nearly every week with work on the M6. So yeah.
I'm going to say Rune Pedersen, 43.
43.
I'd go like 36.
He's 45.
Oh. I thought it was quite young with us, to be fair. Like, I thought it was like 18, 19. But...
So that puts you 9 out, Christian, on to 29, and Adam, you're 2
all
out
over.
to 15. So I think it's
all over,
just
yeah.
be all over. But
Forest v Stoke all over again.
And then the last player who's in this United Arab Emirates super team at the minute with Jamie Ward and Ravel Morrison, Joel Lynch.
Oh,
Don't know
wow.
if you've seen it.
Yeah, I remember Joel Lynch. Yeah. Left back, weren't he, from Brighton?
Yeah, I think he's a UAE second or third division team. They're full of ex-England players for some reason.
Money,
or English players. And Northern Ireland, obviously, in Ward, in this case. So I think, Adam, it's you to go first on this one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because you're ahead.
Oh, right, I'm ahead.
Yeah.
Joel Lynch, 38.
38. Christian?
I'll go 36. Again.
36. It's in the middle, 37. So you still a reigning champion, Adam. So you finished on 16, and Christian, you finished on 30. So
I might have to do the November one, Reece, so you can have a go.
Yeah, well,
I'll do the next one. Like I'm fed up of losing these.
Well,
I'll do the next one. Like,
I can send you the link for the site I use. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, and obviously I won't have a look because I'm not a cheat. Unlike Mark Cucurella. Anyway, that's it for this episode. So basically, I think we're going to bring you kind of a preview between, well, some of us and the Palace fan in the week before that Monday night football game against Crystal Palace. So until then, hope you enjoy this one with obviously a few of you listeners who listen and watch the pod having a say. And until next time, come on, you Reds.